Hello everybody, this is Abraham with North Shore Computer Services. What we got here is an iMac with a problem that is unique to these iMacs. You can see that the screen is flickering. It's sometimes brighter, sometimes darker. And after a little bit, it goes completely out. So it would flicker, work sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, but in the end you can see that it's flickering right now. It will go out. This is a popular problem with these iMacs. This is a, I believe, 24-inch, 24-inch iMac, produced around 2013, 14, something like that. I will show you how to fix this problem without having to replace the screen. So first we shut down the computer and wait for computer to be completely off. Then you want to make sure to pull the power cord out and push the power button. And the reason you want to push the power button is to try and drain the capacitors in the power supply, because on these computers the power supply is exposed and you can get a jolt even if it's unplugged, but definitely unplug it. So then you want to make sure you take off the glass, the screws. If you don't know how to do that, do not attempt this repair. Okay, this is for somebody who at least knows a little bit about this stuff. So then you basically take the screen off, you carefully peel the screen back. You got 1, 2, so hold it. So 2, the main connector, and 3, the temperature sensor. So we disconnect this one. I honestly don't know what this one is. Oh, 4. Okay. The lights, backlight. So 1, 2, 3 for the temperature sensor. Come on. All right. And we got the main. And be very careful, as it is easy to damage these connectors. Apple loves to put glue on everything. There are little, let me see if I could show. There are little latches. It's hard to see, but you can see them right here. You have to push the sides of that connector. I'll pull it out and show. So it comes out. Don't just pull on them. So see, this get pushed and they unlock the connector. Okay, so this frees up the LCD part. Let me grab it out of the computer. Okay, so for this repair, we're gonna need to take the LCD apart completely and get to the LEDs that illuminate the LCD assembly itself. Just so you know, this is not for the faint-hearted. If you got to this point and it took you more than 2 hours to get here, I would say at this point, get the number of the LCD, plug it into the internet, and see what you come up with as far as just replacing it. If you feel like more adventurous, whereas you can price the part and then try and fix it before you buy the part. So that way, if you mess it up, you know, oh, okay, well, there's a replacement part that I can get. So in that case, I will show what needs to be done next. Basically, every piece of tape that's on here needs to be taken off. Well, we're looking at the bottom for the most part. Some of the things up there will need to be taken apart. The side mountings will need to be taken apart. There's some tape, so there's a lot to unpack in here. The lights, you just follow these cables where they go, and that's where your backlights will be. Sometimes backlights could be in really poor shape, so you need to get a replacement. They are available. You just need to make sure you get to them and measure them exactly. Otherwise, if they're not exact length, you may have spots where you have dark corners or something isn't lit up properly, so you gotta be really careful there. So for this job, we're gonna use a Torx, and this number is T9. I'm just gonna take the mounting sides off, and they're held down by 2 screws on each side. That is the mounting brackets that get attached to the LCD assembly itself. So we take those out. This needs to be, there's a lot of glue, so be prepared for braving the glue. So this is the other one. There's also magnets. Magnets are not a big deal, but you need to be aware that sometimes your screw that you pulled out might be attracted by the magnet and cause some unintended behavior. Okay, so let's peel the screw. See, just like that. I pulled it out and got attracted by the magnet. See, right there. In this case, it's good. Let them keep it and organize it for us. One more thing you want to do, and this makes life just easier. You could mark this one as the right, something like that, and you can mark this one as the left. And the reason I want to put 3 L's in there is I don't know if I will need to peel this tape off, and if I do, that L gets peeled off. All right, so most likely some glue bled through the tape and made this bracket attach much more than just by pulling it off. So let me pause it and I'll get the bracket disconnected. So I just peeled the bracket off, and you can see that there's quite a bit of tape on the bracket itself that holds the bracket to the LCD assembly. So when you're peeling, make sure first of all to use a flathead screwdriver and work from the front, because that's where you have a steel cage for the assembly. So that steel cage will not allow you to damage the LCD, but be very, very careful. And like I said, again, if you don't feel like doing this, this is your port of call. But if not, keep going. So now we're going to take the other side off. So to make the job easier, I just took the X-Acto knife and cut right through these I don't know what they are, but foam things. So by cutting through, you also get a point of reference where they get mounted back. And another thing you want to do is put an L on this thing. Okay, so that way you would know which one was where. I pulled that one out, but I got an impression of the screw, so I know where that will go. So keep going. So I'll record a little bit of how this gets peeled off. So you can see it's fairly well attached for absolutely no reason other than make it difficult to take it apart, because those 2 screws will hold the metal to metal really good. So our next chore is to disassemble the corners. So we'll start with this corner, and it's probably easier to just use a knife to cut through some of this tape I should say red tape, even though it's not red at all. There is, in my opinion, I mean, it doesn't hurt, but use this much tape means that engineers, whoever designed this stuff, are lazy. That's when you use tape, duct tape, I should say. So people who laugh at the duct tape, or whoever uses a lot of duct tape, this is what it's all about. So using a lot of duct tape. So this needs to be peeled. So I'll just basically go through exposing. Basically what we need to do is take the whole thing out of the frame. I want to see if it's possible to take just part, but I remember in the past the whole thing needs to be taken apart. This is not the first time I'm doing it, so I'll just get the tape peeled off and be back. So I got some of this tape peeled off. Now I'm peeling this black stuff, and you can see that this black tape is exposing. That's where the backlight holders are. So just keep going. You need to expose everything. Remove all the duct tape. So I peeled off the tape on this side, and as you can see, if I was to tear it off, it would remove my L. I have peeled off and exposed all the wiring. This is where the problems are, but they're on the inside, so I'm gonna have to fight with it a little. Now I have this side exposed, and on this side I just cut through the tape. There is really no need to expose it. So next what we need to do is unlock the locks here, and it's easier said than done, but in reality you just kind of use the flathead screwdriver. And the reason I'm saying it's easier said than done is these locks are all around the LCD, and all we need to do is open this up like a book. But again, it's easier said than done. Wasn't really designed to be opened like a book. Yeah, I see there are more locks that we need to undo over here. So that's why all this tape needs to be cut open and taken apart. So there's more locks over here. They're not hard, but the problem is this thing falls right back into them under its own weight, and that's where the problem is. Also, watch out not to touch with your fingers on the other side. Not a big deal, but you don't want to have your fingerprints all over. So what we want to do is raise this up, and then as you can see, there are some screws that need to be pulled out. So we still have quite a bit to go. So what you will notice is that I raised part of it, the part that I really care about, where the backlights are, up, and you can see that the LCD stayed back. So we want to be very careful not to damage the connection from driver board to the LCD, which is on the upper side of the LCD. So what we want to do here is jam a screwdriver to just keep it open like this so we can work with it. And this is basically what we're looking for. Okay. Keep disassembling. So just like that, pull out the screws. So I have 5 screws. Okay. That separates the this black part from the silver part. Now I can stick my fingers in there a little bit and not worry to leave marks on the LCD, but you still should be careful not to let any dust particles to enter, because all that will be visible once the LCD gets reassembled and get lit up. All the dust particles will be visible. So keep going, keep going. So I've separated a little bit here. I'm gonna need to cut through some of that tape and peel, looks like peel the back off. What I discovered was also, when I looked through this hole, there was no screw. On this side, you can clearly see that there is a screw in there. So when I peeled it off, I found the screw. It just unscrewed itself. I don't know through thermal or mechanical means, but it's not in there. So we need to pull that screw out before we lose it. Okay, so at this point we have the back metal plate separated from the LCD assembly and all those reflectors and whatnot. And now we need to work on the top side to free up the LCD driver from the back plate. So I was hoping that didn't need to be done. It is. So what we're gonna do first is peel some of this tape off to expose our connectors. And by the way, Apple is Apple, but they're using just regular things. So this LCD is actually made by LG and not Apple. In fact, you really should be understanding that, and for those who don't know it, Apple specifically puts that it's been designed by Apple. Apple themselves don't really make anything. They may be making some things in their research and development department, which are concepts for the most part, and then the engineers take over, create more specific concepts and send it to be manufactured by likes of the Foxconn, Samsung, all those companies that really make the stuff. So Apple is an interesting company. Come on, just stuck back. Okay. Peel. And I don't know if this tape actually serves any specific purpose, but there it is. So now we have some screws exposed. So I'll be pulling those out. So this here cable needs to be pulled out. Part of this driver cover is actually held down by this black piece of tape that is designed to not short circuit the power supply to the metal in the LCD. So there are locks on the other side that I absolutely despise, and they are held down by the tape on this side. And I'm just gonna have to use the knife to go through and get that tape separated. So the locks on the back side, you just basically have to cut through the tape and then move it that way to unlock. Now we have to, with great care, by the way, when you cut through the tape, be careful not to cut these tapes. What I like, I don't know if you can see, is to use a dull knife. It doesn't take much to cut through the tape. If you have a super sharp knife, you most likely asking for trouble, or you can damage things. With a dull knife, just like in the kitchen, a super sharp knife will always give you cuts on the fingers, whereas dull knife, you can it can slide into your fingers, but it does not have as much cutting power. So now on this driver there is tape that holds down where the connector is, so you kind of have to carefully peel it off. And again, this knife is relatively dull, so you could still damage. Alright, so as you can see, there is quite a bit on all sides. These things are busy. So now, hopefully, everything is, I may have pushed it back in, but let's see if we can separate it. Yep. Alright, so just a matter of lifting and separating this metal backing from the whole LCD assembly. Sorry, I have to pull. So the moment of truth. The back is separated from the front. You have to break the locks that hold it together all around. The ones in the back you have to be extra careful about because of the ribbons that connect the driver to the LCD. So this is where we are going to go. Okay, so that's the backlight. Alright, so now we have to peel the backlight out. So I'm going to examine it in a moment and get back. So all these screws need to be removed so we can get to our backlight. So now that all the screws have been peeled off, we're just gonna push on these locks and with the other finger pull it up a little bit and out of the holders. So let's see. So there, that should release the backlight. Oh, just releases the reflector. Also, if you can see on the reflector the black spots, alcohol and Q-tip will get rid of those dark spots. And on the monitor, when I turned it on, you may have seen vertical dark bars. This is what caused those vertical dark bars. They will disappear. Absolutely perfect solution would be to replace this reflective tape, but I don't have one. So now I'm gonna try and get that backlight out. So by this time we should be able to unplug, unplug this and unplug this. And as you can see, this one didn't even unplug, it just fell off. This is the problem. The connector that's held on to the backlight fails due to heat and cold cycles. So let me pull that off, and we'll start working on fixing it. Okay. So the backlight, the light bulb itself, is held to the back of the LCD with a thermal compound. Okay, that provides cooling for the LEDs, and you have to be really careful by peeling this and not breaking the LED rail or tearing the thermal. See right there, you gotta be, the thermal paste or a thermal strip should stay back. We'll reuse it, it'll be okay. So now the LED rail is separated, and we're gonna have to use a soldering iron to reconnect the connector. This is the culprit in this whole adventure. Reconnecting this thing back is basically what needs to be done. Now it's easier said than done because the heat dissipation of this rail is high, so I'm gonna have to use something special to get this reattached, and I'm gonna need to pay a close look to this side. Let's see, close attention, maybe touch up on it so that if there was an attempt at breakage, that it would get resoldered back. So still lots of work, but I am not gonna go any further. I will fix this, reassemble, and reassembly is basically reverse order. You reattach the rail, put the screws back in, put the back on the front, put some tape on. You don't have to put all the tape on it, but a lot, and that's basically the repair or the problem with this particular or this is the source of the problem of this particular iMac, where your screen flickers, where your screen is not working, shutting off, and then you kick it and it works again. So it's a mechanical problem and it's totally fixable. So hopefully this helps somebody, sheds light on what to do. Just keep in mind, my channel is for people who are very handy, not afraid of breaking things, also taking responsibility for the work that they do. This LCD will cost you in the area of about $300, give or take. I haven't checked the prices yet, but if you don't do it yourself, if you have a shop do it, you'll be out at least $300. I'm showing what needs to be done just so you can appreciate the shop's efforts to fix your thing or replace the LCD. Either way, it'll cost, because fixing, as you can see, is time consuming, and replacing is cost consuming. So I hope this helps somebody. If you like my videos, give me some likes. If you have any questions, absolutely ask them down below. And have a good day.